We're now moving on to the third passage, the third reading passage in this first section of the reading test that we have been working our way through. This third section in this packet is science. Science, though, it is science no table. There's no tables on this one. So that means that we're going to use a couple strategies that we've already used. And of course, that number one strategy that we always use is reading for theme, of course. As we go through this science passage as well, we're also going to start, we're going to write in the space all over up here. We're going to be reading for theme, of course. Number one, just to predict what the questions are going to be. So that's our way of predicting what the questions are going to be. We're reading for theme. The other thing we're going to do that I'm going to write it up here. You don't necessarily have to write it. I just want to remind you that while we're reading, I want you to bracket two things. In the science, research design is important. So whenever they start going in depth about how they set up for their research, how they chose their test subjects, how they chose the location, anything like that that leads into the actual experiment, make sure to put a bracket around that when you find that. The other thing I absolutely want you to be on the search for, on the hunt for, are the findings. So research design and the researcher's findings, the scientist's findings, those are the two main things that we're going to just predict that most questions are going to come from. As we're doing that, also circle dates. It's our best way of just quickly getting back to the spot in the text. As we have practiced, the SAT test uses what we call the question order rule, where the questions at the beginning of the section come from the beginning of the reading, and then the middle come from the middle, and then the end come from the end. Similarly, whenever they give you a date, it's just indicating chronological order. So it'll help you just get back into the text very quickly so you can find your answer should there be any questions about dates. And I've looked at these tests long enough to know you'll have at least one question about a specific date. So why not circle it and just save yourself the extra seconds of scanning. So, and you know, as you've gone through this test before, sometimes seconds add up. So we want to just use these strategies. So of course, read for theme, always our biggest thing. Finding the research design, whenever you find research design, just put a bracket around the entire section so that you can get back to that quickly. Findings, of course, scientists love to talk about their findings, especially if it leads to a reason to continue their research. So let's bracket findings and then dates. We'll circle all the dates that we find. Other than that, I think it's just reading. As long as we're reading for that purpose, you should be able to read it one time and get through that passage one time, and then we'll tackle the questions. Hopefully there's some questions that we like oh, most nearly means, or something of that nature. So when we get there, we'll look forward to that. So let's start reading. Again, as always, give yourself that little bit of background information by reading the brief introduction about where the passage came from. Sometimes it gives you a really good clue about the nature of the study as well. So don't skip that there. And I think it's time for us to start reading. Ready to move on? So we'll talk about theme. As you noticed, I mark my text. There is no argument about that. I mark a lot. I want to make sure I understand it and get a good understanding the first time around, making predictions about what the questions could potentially be. And if I do come across a question that I don't know the answer to right away, I want to make sure that I can find the answer quickly. So theme is what it's mostly about. I'm going to go with what nerves feel. I really feel like I wrote a lot down about slow and fast. I just want to flesh that out a little bit. Because as we learned through the reading, CT or C-tactile fibers sense pain and temp. And then it was added on at the end. Pleasurable sensations as well. And then fast fibers, pressure, vibration, and location. So if there's no fast, they will not feel pressure, vibration, and location. If there's no slow, then they'll feel a reduction in pain, temperature, and pleasurable sensations. So let's have a look at what the questions are about. Before we do that, I do want to say I found some research design. So using the technique and what they did and how they measured using electrical impulses to measure what the nerves were sending to the brain. Looking closely at CT fibers, I feel like that was a research design. Findings, research design, mostly hypothesis. I know that because it's a question. And then findings. How their findings were solidified. So before we start answering questions, let's just have a quick little look at what they are. So based on the passage, that's a factual question. Best evidence for that. Most nearly means, oh, there's two. We're not going to look at the answers and fall in love. Conclusion, that is a theme question. Evidence. When the sentence is mostly serving mainly to, that's a theme question. Reasonably inferred, that's a theme question. The main purpose of a paragraph is a theme question. According to the passage, GL differed from, so that's a factual question. Factual questions, you can find the answer directly in the text. You can point right to it. According to the passage, humans experience an emotional, and that's a factual question. According to the passage, those are factual questions. All right, so reminding ourselves very quickly, our theme, what nerves feel. If it's slow, like a CT fiber, they're feeling pain, temperature, and pleasurable sensations. If it's fast, they're feeling pressure, vibration, and location. And number one, based on the passage. So this is based on the passage, meaning you could go back to the passage and find it. Factual question. We're hopefully not going to be going back to the question, to the passage. Based on the passage, textbook authors in the early 1900s was most likely have experienced which condition to result in the blocking of fast fibers. We have that there. No fast, no pressure. The rate at which other nerve fibers fired would increase. There was no indication at all that these nerve fibers relied or would pick up the slack from one another. So I don't like that one at all. The test subject would perceive gentle stimuli as painful. Well, fast fiber is pressure, vibration, and location. Pain is slow fiber, so that one's wrong. The body would compensate by using slow fibers to sense pressure. Again, just like A, there was no indication that if one was slacking that the other would pick up. The ability to perceive vibration would be impaired. And again, we know that's true because vibration was mentioned as one of the things under fast. So yes. Which choice provides the best evidence for this? Lines 1 through 4 or 4 to 7. Again, because we know a little bit about the question order rule. And we can see that the next question is coming from line 15. And we're only in the second question of this set of questions in this third reading. That means that because line 31 to 33 comes after line 15, I can automatically get rid of it. So the biggest clue was here, and we know our question order rule, meaning the first few questions will come from the beginning, the next few questions will come from the middle, and then the end questions will come from the end. So I know I can get rid of that one. The choice provides the best evidence that the ability to perceive vibrations would be impaired. So let's have a look. Lines 1 through 4 in the temperature. In the early 1900s, in the early 1990s, textbooks acknowledged that humans had slow conducting nerves, but asserted that those nerves only responded to 2 types of stimuli, pain and temperature. That doesn't even say the word vibration, so I have to get rid of that. We're going now to lines 4 through 7, sensations and location. Sensations of pressure and vibration were believed to travel only along myelinated fast signaling nerve fibers. We're reading until location, which also gave information about location. Yep, there's our answer. Restates the one just before. Oh, okay. You probably were trying to warn me through the screen. Most nearly means. So instead of falling in love with some of the answers, we're just going to have a quick look. Active on line 15. Active. Get rid of the word completely. Okelson and Gothenburg University colleagues wondered if slow fibers responsive to gentle pressure might be present, as in when the teacher calls your name to see if you're in class and you say present, as well as other mammals. And then we'll think of, so we're really just looking for a word that means if they were there, if they were present, if they were accounted for. So we're looking for present or attendance. So let's have a look. As used in line 15, active most nearly means present. Yep. Attentive, I did say attendance, meaning like when your teacher takes attendance, but attentive doesn't mean that you can be present, but you don't have to be attentive. Movable, no, that doesn't mean present or attendance. Restless, that doesn't mean present or attendant. So present, nope, here's another one. I don't want to look at them. As used in line 20, capture most nearly means, and then let's go to line 20. And there's the word capture. Now we forgot that word. Using a technique called microneurography, in which a fine filament is inserted into a single nerve to its electrical impulses. The scientists were able to measure how quickly or slowly the nerves fired. There's a couple things I'm going to do. The thing that I'm trying to think about is I want to say something like almost like write down, like they write it down using a technique called microneurography, in which a fine filament is inserted into a single nerve to write down its electrical impulses. Is it simple enough? The scientists were able to measure how quickly or slowly the nerves fired. I just want it to be something like write down, like when you're taking notes. You want to write it down, or you want to like almost take a quick little photograph of it. So what's a simple word that could go in that place? Write down, or how about I'll just go with photo. Like just to grab it, just to have that information. So let's see, we're going with write down or like a quick little snapshot. As used in line 20, capture most nearly means, does it mean to occupy? No, if you're writing something down, you're not occupying. Does it mean to seize? I don't hate that. I'm not in love with it because I don't want it to seem like seize almost means like out of force, but I'll keep it then. Record, yes, I like that one. Writing down, capture, yes. Influence, no, that doesn't mean to write down or to photo. So between these two, seize or record, I like record. Next question, which conclusion is best supported by the findings of Olson's 1993 experiment? Stimulation at body extremities can be sensed as rapidly as stimulation closer to the brain. Now, I do believe we were circling 1993. I have a lot of marking. So we have a quick reference there. Stimulation at body extremities can be sensed as rapidly as stimulation closer to the brain. The whole research design was about the nerves and the fast and the speed of the fast and the slow nerves. It wasn't about where the nerves were found, if they were found on any of the body, where on the body. So I have to get rid of that one. The presence of hairs in human skin lessens the speed at which the nerves conduct signals. That's just not the case at all. The presence of human hairs and skin actually just gives you an indication of what kind of nerves are there. Gentle pressure is sensed not only by fast fibers, but also by slow fibers. That was actually true. And the speed at which nerve fires is dependent on the speed of pressure applied to the nerve. That's not true. So we're choosing C. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answers? Let's see if we can get rid of any of these. I think we could, because question 25 started at line 20. Because question 25 started at line 20, we could get rid of A. But we can't get rid of anything else. But we've narrowed it down to 3. So we're looking for them to say gentle pressure is sensed not only by fast fibers, but also by slow fibers. Because we circled on 1993, it's going to help us get to the answer really quickly. They and delayed on line 23 to 25. They showed that soft stroking promoted two different signals, one immediate and one delayed. It sounds a lot like what we're looking for. Gentle pressure is sensed not only by fast fibers, but also by slow fibers. It's not exactly what I just read. They show that, and I like that it said they show that because we're looking for findings. They showed that soft stroking prompted two different signals, one immediate and one delayed. We found our answer. The sentence in line 40 to 42, but mystifying, serves mainly to, let's see if we can have a look at this without going back. Let's just see what we can do. Identify factors that Olgeson had previously failed to consider. I don't remember them talking about anything that he had previously failed to consider. So I don't know if I like that one. Propose a solution to a dilemma encountered by Olgeson. Dilemma encountered. I don't think I like that one either. Anticipate a potential criticism of Olgeson by the reader. We don't know enough about the scientists to criticize. And I can't even think that that would be correct because at no time did they bring us into the reading. Show a problem from the perspective of Olgeson's team. I like that, especially on a science one, because as we know, scientists love to form hypotheses and do experiments and then find solutions. However, I haven't met a scientist yet that doesn't mind continuing to study. So let's have a look though. The sentence in line 40 to 42, but mystifying serves mainly to 40 to 42. But why exactly humans might have such fibers, which respond only to a narrow range of other subtle stimuli, was initially mystifying. I think we found our answer. Show a problem from the perspective of Olgeson's team. That sentence, now that you've read it, it definitely doesn't propose a solution, and it doesn't identify factors that Olgeson had previously failed to consider. Moving on to question 29. RaiseLibby inferred means that this is a theme question. It can reasonably be inferred that one of the intended goals of the 1999 experiment was to determine, and again, if we do need to look back, we circled it just for quick reference, the precise nature of sensations that CT fibers can convey. That was all about the theme. I mean, that's our theme right there. I feel like I just read our theme. What nerves feel, CT fibers, sensations. I love it. Let's just double check, but I love that one. The relationship between body hair and CT fiber function, 1999, no. Role played by CT fibers in the perception of pain. Well, we know that's not true because fast fibers have pain. Oh, and slow fibers have pain. Effective microneurography on CT fiber signaling in 1999. No, they didn't. No, that was in 1993. They used it, so A is the answer. The main purpose of the sixth paragraph, lines 54 to 63, is to, I don't want to reread it. I want to just look back very quickly to scan it and see 54 to 60. Oh, this is the introduction of GL. Sugar penicillin. And then she has nerve deficits. But she has slow conducting nerves. Okay, just to remind myself. So the main purpose of the sixth paragraph is to Identify those of GL's neurological conditions that might be, no, they were not trying to relieve her. They were using her as a test subject, but they were not trying to relieve her of anything. Contextualize the nerve function of GL by comparing it with that of other adults. That's just not true. She was a test subject in and of herself. Detail procedures that GL had experienced during previous, and that's just not true. Indicate why GL's medical condition was of value. Absolutely, all day long. We probably could have done that one without looking back. According to the passage, GL differed from Olkinson's other test subjects in terms of the number of cortices activated in the brain during gentle brushing. I do remember that was actually one of the main things, so I'm going to keep that one. Physical dimensions of the somatosensory cortex. Physical dimensions of the somatosensory cortex. I don't remember anything like that. They didn't give us any direct dimensions of her, anything about her brain. Intensity of nerve signals required to activate the insulin. No. Effect of MRI scanning on the basic function of brain. MRI scans shouldn't have any. MRI scans tell us about brain cortices. And then finally, it's our last one. According to the passage, humans experience an emotional aspect of touch. I remember this from the very end. When brain cortices are shielded from nerve signals, that wouldn't result in feeling touch. CT fibers are exposed to a stimulus. I like that one. I'm going to keep that one. Nerve fibers that sense pain are suppressed. No. Conscious aspect of sensation are ignored. I'm going to just ignore. So B. There you have it. I'm really curious to think what you think about the science part. I think we did all the heavy lifting on the reading. I mean, that's a lot of marking the text, determining theme, looking for research design, indicating where the findings are. But I think the end result was that the questions weren't that difficult to answer. And there was no table, of course, so we were able to get through that quickly. We used our most nearly mean strategy to help us figure out 2 most nearly means. And all in all, I hope that you see the value in reading for theme, helping you to always choose the answer when you find a theme, when it matches your theme. That's going to be always the answer. It's one of the biggest takeaways, I think, of all of our reading that we do together. So that's the science section, science no table section. Of course, at some point in your 5 different passages, there will be a science with a table section. So we have that to look forward to, but we know exactly what to do when we see science. Look for research design, look for findings, circle dates, and of course, as always, read for theme. Thank you for studying with me today. I look forward to seeing you again soon.